kunja bihari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhav, Jaya Radha Madhav, Radha Madhav, Jaya Radha Madhav. Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Prahlad Narsingha, Jaya Prahlad Narsingha, Jaya Prahlad Narsingha, Jaya Prahlad Narsingha. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Namo Vishnupada Paramahansa Parirājakācārya Ashtottara His Divine Grace Abhay Charana Aravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda ki Nitāya Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari. So today So we have been reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 14th chapter, the disciplines of Lord Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. So text 32nd and 33. So I'll just go read the 32nd verse and then we can together read the verse 33. Tathaivānucarāḥ śrutadevoddhavādayaḥ sunanda-nanda-śīrṣaṇyā ye cānye sātvatarṣabhāḥ. Okay, now we'll read together the verse 33. Api svasti āsate sarve rāma-kṛṣṇa-bhujāśrayāḥ api smaranti kuśalam asmākaṁ baddha-sauhṛdāḥ api svasti āsate sarve rāma-kṛṣṇa-bhujāśrayāḥ api smaranti kuśalam asmākaṁ baddha-sauhṛdāḥ api svasti āsate sarve rāma-kṛṣṇa-bhujāśrayāḥ api smaranti kuśalam asmākaṁ baddha-sauhṛdāḥ. Prabhus. Api svasti āsate sarve rāma-kṛṣṇa-bhujāśrayāḥ api smaranti kuśalam asmākaṁ baddha-sauhṛdāḥ api svasti āsate sarve rāma-kṛṣṇa-bhujāśrayāḥ api smaranti kuśalam asmākaṁ baddha-sauhṛdāḥ. Api svasti āsate sarve rāma-kṛṣṇa-bhujāśrayāḥ api smaranti kuśalam asmākaṁ baddha-sauhṛdāḥ. Api svasti āsate sarve rāma-kṛṣṇa-bhujāśrayāḥ api smaranti kuśalam asmākaṁ baddha-sauhṛdāḥ. Tathaivā. Similarly, anucarāḥ, constant companions, śaureḥ of Lord Śrī Kṛṣṇa, such as Śrutadeva, uddhava-ādayaḥ, uddhava and others, sunanda-nanda-śīrṣaṇyā, śrīrṣaṇyāḥ, other leaders, ye, all of them, ca, and anye, others, sātvata, liberated souls, ṛṣabhāḥ, the best men, api, if, svasti, doing well, āsate, are, sarve, all of them, Rama, Balarāma, Krishna, Lord Krishna, bhuja-āśrayāḥ, under the protection of, api, if also, smaranti, do remember, kuśalam, welfare, asmākaṁ, about ourselves, baddha-sauhṛdāḥ, bound by eternal friendship. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. So please repeat after me. Also Śrutadeva, Uddhava and others, Nanda, Sunanda and other leaders of liberated souls who are constant companions of the Lord are protected by Lord Balarāma and Kṛṣṇa. Are they all doing well in their respective functions? Do they, who are all eternally bound in friendship with us, remember our welfare? So, also Śrutadeva, Uddhava and others, Nanda, Sunanda and other leaders of liberated souls who are constant companions of the Lord are protected by Lord Balarāma and Kṛṣṇa. Are they all doing well in their respective functions? Do they, who are all eternally bound in friendship with us, remember our welfare? Purport. The constant companions of Lord Krishna, such as Uddhava, are all liberated souls, and they descended along with Lord Krishna to this material world to fulfill the mission of the Lord. The Pandavas are all also liberated souls who descended along with Lord Krishna to serve him in his transcendental pastimes on this earth. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 4.8, the Lord and his eternal associates, who are also liberated souls like the Lord, come down on this earth at certain intervals. The Lord remembers them all, but his associates, although liberated souls, forget due to their being tatastha shakti, are marginal potency of the Lord. That is the difference between the Vishnu Tattva and Jiva Tattva. The Jiva Tattvas are infinitesimal potential particles of the Lord, and therefore they require the protection of the Lord at all times. And to the eternal servitors of the Lord is pleased to give all protection at all times. The liberated souls never, therefore, think themselves as free as the Lord or as powerful as the Lord. But they always seek the protection of the Lord in all circumstances, both in the material world and in the spiritual world. This dependence of the liberated soul is constitutional, for the liberated souls are like sparks of a fire that are able to exhibit the glow of fire along with the fire, and not independently. Independently, the glow of the sparks is extinguished, although the quality of fire or the glowing is there. Thus, those who give up the protection of the Lord and become so-called Lord themselves out of spiritual ignorance, come back again to this material world, even after prolonged tapasya of the severest type. That is the verdict of all Vedic literature. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tashmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurun Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Sacha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhani Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasa Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauradvishe Namo Namah Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangam langayate giri yat kripatamaham vande Shri Guru Dinatarine Paramanandam Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Sakshadharitrena samasta shastra yukta sada bhavate vasadvi kintur prabhurya priya eva tapsya vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Prabhupada Shri Subhaksamine Sada Daini Shili Subhagya Sarva Jiva Kripabde Guru Shiksha Sadacharya Palakaya Namostute Hare Krishna. So, these last few days we have been discussing about the disciplines of Lord Krishna, and we have been reading that Arjuna and Yudhishthira Maharaj, both of them were very much inquisitive to know what the next activities of the Lord would be. So generally the devotees always want to engage themselves in the activities, whatever the Lord's mood, his mission, so they want to engage themselves. So with this mood, Arjuna went to Dwarka to understand what the Lord's next activities would be, and then he understood the pastime of the Lord's disappearance. And Yudhishthira Maharaj also was very much inquisitive to know what is the Lord's next program. So he was eagerly waiting for Arjuna to come back. So it took long time for Arjuna to come back, and then he also heard from Narad Muni that soon the Lord is going to disappear from this planet. So he is very much anxious. So he is very much eagerly waiting for Arjuna to arrive. So since it took long time, he started asking Bhim, why Arjuna is taking so much time to come. So what has happened? So Prabhupada is mentioning that Yudhishthira Maharaj started asking speculative inquiries. At the same time, internally he knew that that because he was seeing so many bad omens. He was seeing that so many people are becoming greedy. They're becoming envious, they started cheating others, their family, their friends, their relatives, how there is disturbance in the family, in the society. So he could understand that, the Lord must have left. So this is also one important point, that when there is no Krishna consciousness in the society, then you can see all these symptoms appear. And I think these are prominent in this Kali Yuga. So we can always see that people are cheating others. Srila Prabhupada says this material world is full of cheaters and being cheated. So he could see all these bad omens, Yudhishthira Maharaj. And then when Arjuna came, he started inquiring. And instead of directly asking about whether Krishna is there and whether he disappeared, he started indirectly, first of all asking about Krishna's family, his friends, his relatives, his constant companions, how they are, what they're doing, about their welfare. Slowly he's discussing so many things, and ultimately he's coming. He's just near. He's coming to the point to check with Arjuna about Krishna, because Arjuna, he's in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says so many things. He says he's Parantapa, he's Dhananjaya, he's Kaunteya. Krishna is calling Arjuna with different names. So Arjuna as a hero is always very effulgent, he's bright, he's very active. But when he saw Arjuna, when Yudhishthira saw Arjuna, he could see his face, very pale. He was not so happy, he was morose, and his all bodily lusters went. It's not there, so he could understand, so there is something wrong. So here in this translation, Yudhishthira Maharaj is asking about the welfare of Śrutadeva, Uddhava and others, and Nanda and Sunanda. So Nanda Maharaj and Sunanda, the two brothers. So we know that Nanda Maharaj has two elder brothers. One is, I think, Upananda and Abhinandan. And then he has two younger brothers. One is Sunanda and Nandan. And then he also has two sisters, Sananda Devi and Nandini Devi. So, and then he's asking about their welfare, because Hastinapur is somewhere near Delhi and Dwarka is again on the western coast. So when he's asking this, because coming from Dwarka to Delhi, Hastinapur, he must have gone through Mathura. So he's asking the welfares of those who are Mathura Vasis, the Vrindavan Vasis, the Mathura Vasis. So, and then he's saying, these are all our liberated souls. So those who are constant companions of the Lord and are protected. So those who are constant companions, we can see how they are always been protected by the Lord. And so are they doing well? Generally we see when somebody is coming from our family relatives, family, so then we ask him about his welfare. We ask the welfare of his family members, the other different family members. We start asking them, so how he is, how she is, whether they are doing well, whether all are happy, whether they are engaged in their duties. So same questions Yudhishthira Maharaj is asking, whether they all are doing well in their respective functions. And since we are all bound with this relation of friendship, so as a friend, it's always he's thinking, he's always wishing welfare, feeling good for always, he's praying good for his friends. So this we can see that by Yudhishthira Maharaj's questions, that he was very much concerned about his family and relatives. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is mentioning that the constant companions of Lord Krishna, such as Uddhava, are all liberated souls. And they descend along with the Lord to this material world to fulfill the mission of the Lord. So we know that when the Lord appears, along with the Lord, his constant companions, they come. They come to help the Lord in his mission. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada mentioned 4.8, Bhagavad Gita, Paritranaya sadhunam. This is one of the purpose why Krishna comes, Vinashayatya dushkritam, to kill the demons, and dharma sansthapanarthaya, to re-establish the religion. So the Lord comes. So when the Lord comes, he doesn't come alone. So Prabhupada many times give this example, when a king comes, he doesn't just come alone. He comes with all his soldiers, ministers, all the army, all the kingly royal paraphernalia, he comes. So similarly, when Krishna came, he came with all his constant companions, all the liberated souls from the spiritual world. The demigods also appeared. They also came to help in the mission of the Lord. So, and again, as a living entities, it is also our responsibility that to understand the mood and mission of our previous acharyas, about Srila Prabhupada, what he wanted, what was his mission, his mood, and then to imbibe that mood in ourselves, and then to act, to act what Prabhupada wanted. Prabhupada wanted us to become devotees, but Prabhupada wanted us to develop all the wonderful qualities, which are required to develop that character. So Prabhupada said, this movement I made for people to build character. That was Prabhupada's always emphasized on character. We are all nice Vaishnavas, but unless we have a good character, how can we work together for the mood and mission of Srila Prabhupada? So that character building is very much important. To become a Brahmana is required. Unless one develop, Prabhupada mentioned, unless we develop this character, how can we become a Vaishnava? So, to understand the mood and mission of Srila Prabhupada is very much important. So here, Krishna came with all his liberated soul, all his companions, those who help him in his pastimes, in this earthly pastimes, how Pandavas helped Krishna in killing the demons in the Kurukshetra war, and in different ways they come to help the Lord in his mission. So, and also the difference between, here we can see the difference between the liberated soul and the conditioned soul. The liberated soul always are in the constant association of the Lord. They're always well protected by the Lord. The Lord is always taking care of them. Whereas the conditioned soul, they're always suffering. They're always suffering in this material world. Janma, mrityu, jara, vyadi, dukkha, doshanu, darshanam. They're always suffering. Whereas the liberated soul are always taken care by the Lord in all circumstances. We can see in the instance of in Mahabharata that how Lord helped Pandavas in so many ways. How Lord helped Kunti Devi. How the Lord helped Draupadi. She was about to be, in the assembly of Kurus. She was worst a woman can, go through. She was going through. And how the Lord helped her. So, different again pastimes which we can discuss, that how the Lord is always protecting his devotees. I think I was going through this chapter, and few points again and again I could notice was one, that the symptoms of, when there is no Krishna consciousness, what are the symptoms? And at the same time, that here also I could see that how the Lord is always protecting his devotees. So, in the next purport, I think, Srila Prabhupada is again giving much details about the protection. I just wanted to go through. Yeah, so therefore, we need his protection for our own interest. So the Lord is the protector of cows and the Brahmanical culture. A society devoid of cow protection and Brahmanical culture is not under the direct protection of the Lord. And here Prabhupada is giving an analogy of a prisoner in the jail who is not under the protection of the king but the jailer. And similarly, those who are not under the protection of the Lord are taken care by Lord's external energy. And then being in that jail, in this um, um, the jail, material world, we are constantly suffering. So that's why even Srila Prabhupada, I think when he was going to Japan for printing his books, he's telling his devotees, his disciples, that always pray to Lord Nrsimhadev for protection. I'm going from there, maybe I'll go to India, I will set up some temples here, I may not come back. So whatever I have given you, this chanting, Mangalati, reading books, preaching, doing Sankirtan, street Sankirtan, this should go on. Distribution of books, this should go on, carry on. And the Lord will protect you. He will take care of you. So be enthusiastic and carry out these things. So Prabhupada gave us the worship of Lord Nrsimhadev. And in Mayapur, then we have the always having the darshan of Nrsimhadev. We are always, every day, we are praying to Lord Nrsimhadev for his protection. And especially in Mayapur, Lord Nrsimhadev is very, very merciful. I think devotees, those devotees who were there before the Lord DT was installed here, there were a lot of decades, there were a lot of problems, devotees were facing. So they don't know what to do. So somewhere one of the leaders, he got a dream of having Lord Nrsimhadev DT installed here in Mayapur Dham. So you know what happened and how devotees had a lot of struggle to bring this DT. The DT was made, it was brought, and it is here. And since then, the Lord is always there to protect us. I just had the darshan of Nrsimhadev, so beautiful. He was so nicely dressed, so nicely, so many years. Our Pankajangiri Prabhu was taking care, worshipping that, Lord Nrsimhadev. So, and whenever there was problems, I know many devotees used to come, anytime, any problem in whole world, in our ISKCON society, devotees always send messages to Pankajangiri Prabhu, Prabhu, we are in problem, please pray to Nrsimhadev. So we can see how the Lord Prabhupada gave us this, the worship of Nrsimhadev, who is always protecting the devotees. He always protected Prahlad Maharaj in all circumstances. So we have the shelter of the Lord. So unless we constantly try to be under his shelter, we surrender to him, then how can we expect his full protection? So one of the limbs of surrender is also protection. When one completely surrenders at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and engages in his transcendental loving service, then the Lord is always protecting those who are surrendered. So very much important that avashya rakshiva Krishna, vishwasa-palan. The Krishna is always protecting us, but Krishna protects whom? Here Prabhupada is mentioning Krishna protects those who are liberated souls, those who are his associate, those who are his pure devotees. So we have been given the facilities to become pure, so that the Lord can always protect us and take care of us. It's like the taking care, when the cat is taking care of his, kittles in her mouth, carrying her, so they feel the safety of her mother. At the same time, a rat in the mouth, the rat is feeling the imminent his death. I'm going to be killed soon. So he is in frustration, anxiety. So this is the condition of the people in this material world. They're full of anxiety. Kuntha means full of anxiety, tension every day, morning to night, working hard, full of tension, anxiety, don't know the goal of life. Nathe vidu swartha gatim hi Vishnu. They don't know the goal of life. Just engage in satisfying the family, the self, the relatives, making money, bank balance. But the focus is missing. The focus is to please the Lord, to worship the Lord. That is missing. That's why they are always in anxiety. But those who are devotees, they have no anxiety. We can see so many devotees sitting here, all bright faces. So we can understand that devotees are at least having very less anxieties, spiritual anxieties. They are always thinking how we can advance in Krishna consciousness. how the anxiety is there that, oh, I'm not able to do this, I'm not able to get up for Mangalarti, I'm not able to chant my rounds, I'm not able to follow strictly 4 regulative principles, I'm not able to, always take just prasad. I have desire to eat something outside which is very palatable. So, and they always trying, it's like a tag of war. Devotees are having, maybe, okay, let me eat or not, let me. So it's always tag of war going on. So Prabhupada said that this tag of war is there. And when you engage, when you keep your mind fixed in the lotus feet of Krishna, then the mind is your greatest friend. If not, it will take you to hell. Mind is so dangerous. The moment you are not thinking of Krishna, it's just taking you something which is not Krishna consciousness. We all experience this. The moment we are not doing our devotional service, the moment we are not engaged in chanting, dancing, hearing, the mind is going somewhere which is Maya, towards Maya. That's why Prabhupada said, Bhajahu Remana sunanda-nanda-śīrṣaṇyāḥ. Always bhaja, do, practice Krishna consciousness. Always meditate on the lotus feet of Sri Nanda, who is giving abhay. He is giving us that protection. We are very, in this material world, everybody is very fearful. So he is making us fearless. So we are feeling safe. Like many times I travel, when we travel outside, we see there's so many, like when we see outsider materialistic people and so much of suffering they are going through, so much of like people are fighting for small things, so when we come back, when we come to ISKCON, and then immediately feel the protection of Srila Prabhupada, immediately feel we are safe, in safe hands. Now nothing will happen to me, I am safe. So Prabhupada has given that shelter, protection to us, so that we can safely practice Krishna consciousness. So also the Prabhupada mentions in the purport about the difference between the liberated soul and the conditioned soul, and also about the Vishnu Tattva and the Jiva Tattva. So the Jiva Tattva, they are like, Prabhupada gives example that the liberated soul also appear with Krishna, but they forget. But Krishna always remember. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying, Bahunemi Vyatitani Janmani Tava Arjuna. Krishna is saying that, Arjun, you and me, we took many births together, but I remember, you don't remember. So, also, in that, the next, in the purport of, this was one point actually I forgot to mention, that in the purport, I think about in the Bhagavad Gita 4.8, Krishna is saying he came to kill the enemies, but Prabhupada is mentioning that, but in Kali Yuga, Krishna was very merciful. So he came in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Very magnanimous, very merciful. That's why Rupa Goswami is glorifying Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate. Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauradishana. Krishna came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and not to kill, but to make the miscreants devotees. So that's Krishna's mercy. Krishna is called a theoretical, person. He just told us, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vaja. Aham tvam sarva papabhyo mokshasami ma sucha. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the practical person. He taught us how we can benefit. So he taught us how by the Sankirtan movement we can take to Krishna consciousness and then make our life perfect so that we are qualified to go back to Godhead. Prabhupada mentions even somebody has a tinge of material desire, it's very difficult for him, it is not possible for him to go back to Godhead. Even somebody has iota of attachment, material attachment, then he will not be able to go back to Godhead, because the attachment will pull him back wherever it is. If somebody is attached to, some nice restaurant, So then, or something which is not Krishna conscious, then Jai Vijay will say, sir, this is not available inside. So wherever it is available, you have to go there. That's why our attachment should be towards Krishna. Krishna's name, from Krishna and Kṛṣṇa, things which are related to Krishna. So that always thinking of Krishna, his pastimes, name, fame, pastimes of Krishna, discussing about him, we can always constantly thinking of Krishna, we can develop the taste, attachment or asakti towards Krishna, which will help us to go back to Godhead. And also, see, in the last line in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is mentioning that even after prolonged tapasya of the severest type, people, they are not able to go back to Godhead. Those who give up the protection of the Lord and become so-called Lord themselves out of spiritual ignorance come back again to this material world. So people, as living entities, we are suffering so much that after so much of, because we wanted to enjoy our senses, that's why we are suffering. But after so much of doing karma kanda activities, fruitive activities, those who are fortunate, they get the association of pure devotees, and in their association they can get the mercy of Krishna. Brahmanda brahmite kono bhagyavan jiva Guru Krishna kripa paye bhakti latabhi. So people, those who are doing different types of tapasyas, austerities, for them they may be doing so much of tapasya, but it's not, for them it's not, they are not qualifying, they are not getting the qualification which is required to go back to Godhead. So even after doing so much of tapasya, austerities, still they come back. We see the examples of Vishwamitra, we see the examples of Saubhari Muni, they did so much of tapasya, artificially tried to control their senses, but what happened? They fell down. So this is the best example for devotees, that even Prabhupada didn't encourage so much of severe tapasya, austerities. Prabhupada gave us, getting a Mangalarati itself is a tapasya. Doing Ekadashi, following four regulated principles, these are all tapasya, but for devotees it is enough. If not, sometimes we've seen that when you do a lot of tapasya, austerities, your heart becomes hard, no feeling. And then you see that people, those who do too much of tapasya, austerity, they quickly become angry. We have seen Durvasa or many Rishi Munis, those who do too much of tapasya, because they have that feeling that, yes, I did a lot of tapasya, so I got this power, so they want to show off their power. Prabhupada gives example of a yogi who did tapasya for so many of years. So now he did tapasya, he got some power. So now he is eager, where to show my power. So then he went, after doing his tapasya, he entered the village. And then he saw one crow. The crow poop on him. So pee on him. Then immediately he saw with great anger to the crow, and the crow was burned into ashes. So he said, yes, it is working. So he started feeling good. He started feeling good. So then he went, and then he was begging alms. So there was a lady, she was chaste lady, Prabhupada mentioned, she was a chaste lady serving her husband. So she was serving her husband, and she requested him to wait. I'm serving my husband. So she was serving her husband, but this yogi, he was very restless. When you have a lot of powers, you are very restless. It's also like those who are in the position, sometimes if you don't properly utilize your position, because mind is very restless, you think I have this good position, I have this power, I can do whatever I want. So he was very restless. So he was also thinking that she is not hearing me. Let me also burn her to ashes. And then later, when the lady served her husband, she came out, and then she looked at him and she told, "Don't think I am not like that crow. You can kill me." And this yogi got shocked. He said, "How she know?" This is the, what you call, when somebody is very chaste, they get also power. So those who are generally practicing, doing a lot of tapasya, because they are going through a lot of struggle, they're going through this lot of sufferings. Artificially they are suffering. They want to suffer, and they are so much the body is going through. So generally the feeling of compassion, the feeling for others, all this sometimes disappear. Sometimes they become very hard, like the heart become very like a hard like stone. So such people, because Krishna wants his devotees always to have some reciprocation with them. Krishna don't want his devotees actually to suffer. So that's why it is said that whatever austerities which we can do, like sometimes devotees have health issues. Okay, so whatever best you can do, like somebody cannot fast. So okay, then take some fruits, something on Ekadashi. But don't try to artificially, so much what you call do austerity. Krishna doesn't like. Krishna likes his devotees to feelingly whatever they can do for him. Sometimes we see devotees. Sometimes, of course, I'm not saying that one should not do Nirjala Ekadashi or fast as much as possible. But sometimes we see devotees want to whole day they want to stay Nirjal, and then they're not able to perform the daily duties, their services, not able to even chant 16 rounds. I'm getting exhausted. So, is it better? Or is it better to take some, fruits, eat some fruits and then chant as much as possible, 25 rounds minimum. That's minimum. We can chant. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed by his own personal example, whole night do chanting. So do as much as possible we can do chanting, reading, hearing, our services. That is also very much important. So that's why that we should know that limitation of doing austerity, whether it is pleasing Guru or Krishna, or I'm just trying to artificially do because I want to do it. So I think the time is almost there. We are there. So any comments or questions? Two hands.
Thank you, Priji, for the class. As you mentioned that when the outside the people are fighting for small things, and when we come to ISKCON, so we feel the shelter of Srila Prabhupada. But still, like sometimes happens that because of the past experiences and the tendency of finding faults in others, so this happens within when we are serving with the devotees also. In our community also we start finding these faults or some errors and this and that. So, but this does not dilute the genuineness of the movement and the shelter of Srila Prabhupada. So how can one recall himself again and again the gratitude towards this shelter, that I am in this shelter? So how can one recall himself again and again?
See, the different, yourself, when you go outside, you see the difference, you feel the difference. It's like the fish in the water and fish outside the water. It feels the difference. So we feel the difference. So we understand that, what Prabhupada has gave us. And definitely that, this, you mentioned about that we, even when inside, sometimes we see faults in others, we try to judge others. That's why Prabhupada said this point. The Prabhupada said, first of all, the Prabhupada mentioned this point strongly. He said, this movement is meant for building character. It's not so easy, because so many lifetimes you have been doing all nonsense, so it's not so easy, but pull it. That's why always, Prabhupada is saying, always train your mind in such a way that always it's engaged in Krishna's service. So when we are engaged, properly engaged in Krishna's service, then you see the mind is not so much disturbing us. And also one more very important is this sadhana is like a strong, shield which is protecting us from doing offenses. So when you are doing nice, strong sadhana, you feel your mind is not distracted. And when you are, after doing your sadhana, when you are engaged in devotional service, you see that, your mind is not disturbed, our mind is not going. When you are not doing Krishna consciousness, immediately you see that you are trying to find faults in other. So that's why it's always also important to always think ourselves that, to keep ourselves in a humble state. When we make a list of 20 devotees, you should always think that my name should be at last, not at first. So if you think that I am humble, or if we try to do some menial services also, it keeps us always, in that humble state. So when you are humble, then definitely you don't try to find faults in others. Unless we think ourselves too much puffed up, then immediately we start judging others. So that's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mentioned this. Those who are meek and humble, they can chant the holy name of the Lord. And also in, I think, Bible, Jesus Christ mentioned, those who are meek and humble can enter into the kingdom of God. So this is required. And so when we are humble, we understand also things clearly, more clearly. When our sadhana is good, we are focused on in our service, then we can also understand that why we are doing this, what Srila Prabhupada gave us. So we start feeling that gratitude, and we could express, that gratitude. So because we feel, spiritual life is not artificial. When you are practicing, you can feel, you have realizations. Based on a realization, you can express your gratitude. Right.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for wonderful class.
Right.
Prabhuji, you had been mentioning that Nanda and Sunanda, so while coming from all the way to Dwarka to Hastinapur, Arjuna had been to Mathura, but they had been in Vrindavan.
Yeah, I said Mathura, Vrindavan.
So Arjuna went to Vrindavan and they meet Nanda, Sunanda, then
I think this is what even in previously or next chapter somewhere Prabhupada mentioned, I guess, in the purport. That's why Yudhishthira is asking this question. Why he is asking? Because he knows that Arjuna must have went through these places. I think it's there somewhere mentioned, I have to go through, but it's there in the chapter that Prabhupada mentioned that because of this, Yudhishthira is asking.
Because always this Vrindavan visits are always, it's more glorified and had been there everywhere. We had been hearing very less people they visit Vrindavan. In that time, Uddhava visited and all.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether it's...
No, it's there. That's why Yudhishthira is asking, making such questions. If not, he would have not.
Okay, thank you so much.
And it's there. I have to check. Maybe you can go through also. And I can also, maybe after the class, maybe I can check. It's there somewhere, yeah. In the purport to the 28th and 29th verse, Hastinapur, the capital of the Pandavas, was situated somewhere near present New Delhi, and the kingdom of Ugrasen was situated in Mathura. While returning to Delhi from Dwarka, Arjuna must have visited the city of Mathura, and therefore the inquiry about the king of Mathura is valid.
Thank you.
Thank you for your class. Prabhu, you mentioned that Nitya Siddha. My query is that from conditions sold Nitya Baddha by the Kripa and Sadhana, we can be a Sadhana Siddha. And from Sadhana Siddha, can we be Nitya Siddha? It is possible, this journey from Nitya Baddha to Sadhana Siddha and from Sadhana Siddha to Nitya Siddha. Is it possible, this journey?
What I understand, whether it's a sadhana siddha or kripa siddha, and Nitya Siddha, these are all same. Understand? These are all same level. These are all liberated soul. Whether by sadhana you become, whether you get by the mercy of special mercy of Krishna, Kripa Siddha, or you are eternally liberated, all they are same. Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So thank you so much. I gave very such a nice classes and practical class. You mentioned many of points. One of the points you mentioned that the Subara Muni and the Vishwamitra Muni, they are following artificially. They are following the system. But you know that in the yoga, there is a different types of yoga system is there. There's Ashtanga yoga system, Bhakti yoga systems. But the Vishwamitra Muni and Subara Muni, they are following Ashtanga yoga systems. So how can you say that they are doing artificially practicing?
See, Prabhupada mentions that this is, the process is there. Ashtanga, by different yogas, one can achieve perfection. Okay. But the process which makes you artificially engage, why I mentioned, because the senses are to be engaged in the service of the Lord, and you cannot artificially restrict the senses. Senses are not meant to be restricted. They are to be engaged. Prabhupada didn't say that artificially control your senses. He said engage them in Krishna's service.
That's in Bhakti Yoga.
Yeah. So to engage, so since they were engaged in the different yogas, Ashtanga yoga as you mentioned, so artificially, why I'm saying artificially, because they were trying to meditate. They were through that yoga. Yoga is what? To connect with the Lord. So yoga. So they were trying to engage, but since it was not done, the senses were not properly engaged, so immediately they got distracted. That's why I said artificially. When you don't know the exact activities of the senses, how they are to be engaged, and when you start doing meditation, so it can be easily get disturbed. So that's how I said artificial. Because Prabhupada mentioned this word, by artificially engaging the senses in different yoga processes, it's sometimes you can get distracted. Because the senses need engagement. And then when these devotees, these people, when Vishwamitra was doing tapasya, they were trying to do the yoga practice, but that is not proper way to achieve perfection. I mean to say, at least in this material, this Kali Yuga, or Prabhupada mentioned in Kali Yuga, it's not so proper to engage artificially the senses in different yogas. It's better to engage the senses in the service of the Lord. What is that? Sarva padir vinirmuktam tatparatena nirmalam rishikesha sevanam. So to engage the sense in the service of the Lord. And so in that sense I mentioned that Srila Prabhupada said that artificially we cannot, of course by doing yogas one can achieve perfection, and they were trying to do but they failed. So in connection with the Kali Yuga, I was mentioning that Prabhupada mentioned that artificially one if engages his senses in trying to control his senses, then he will become victim of Maya sooner or later. So it's better to engage the senses in the service of the Lord.
That's fine, Prabhuji. But sometimes we are in Bhakti Yoga, doing Bhakti Yoga process. So in Bhakti Yoga process, Prabhupada is saying the chanting is the most important part of all the yoga systems. In Bhakti Yoga system, by doing chanting, myself, I am not do much well. Myself, I am not properly doing the chanting. That means I am doing artificially?
No. You said when I am not chanting properly, whether I am doing artificially.
Yeah. Yes.
You know yourself. Prabhupada said, if you are hungry, you know yourself. You don't have to ask others. Whether you feel you are doing artificially or not, you know yourself. So we are doing chanting, of course, but there are nama-aparad also. So Prabhupada said one should try to become free from this nama-aparad and chant. So it takes time. Prabhupada said it took me 30 years. Just give an example that it took time for me to chant properly. But at least we are chanting. At least we are engaged. We started that process. So at least we started practicing Krishna consciousness. So we are chanting, but it takes time. So because mind is always disturbed, distracted. So always chanting. When you are constantly practicing, then you achieve perfection. You should always practice. Krishna also says, Arjuna is saying mind is very chanchal. What to do? He said, practice. So Prabhupada gave different engagement so that we practice, we train our mind, it can focus, we can chant in the association of devotees, and also mention that you sit before the deities or Tulsi Maharani and try to chant, meditate there. If you are outside, sometimes mind is get distracted in so many ways. So sit at one place before the deity picture, before spiritual master picture or Tulsi, and engage. So what is the problem? Hare Krishna. Yes, bro. Yeah, please.
Hare Krishna. But both of them, the Vishwamitra and Saubhri Muni, both of them have been falling from the path of their sadhana. So there are two sections of sadhana in which one is trying to achieve to the platform, that's called yoga rurukshu. Yoga rurukshu means they are trying to approach. And the another level is called yoga rudha. So there is no risk of falling down from yoga rudha. So maybe for devotees also there could be the section of sadhana in which we are trying to achieve yoga rurukshu. So there could be some fallacy there. But both of them fallen down from that platform. For devotees also, it's like many times we take things to be like not as a service but as a sadhana. So that's more like yoga rurukshu. But anything if you take it to service, it's like yoga rudha. So there could be less chance of falling down.
Prabhupada is there to say, help us. Devotees do, of course, fall down. Always there are small, big fall downs are there, but at least, we have hope against hope. At least we have shelter of Prabhupada, we have hope against hope that, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, that, just we have to keep on engaging ourselves. I think Prabhupada mentioned that there will be fall downs, there may be problems, but we always be enthusiastic. If you feel that your enthusiasm is going down, you go before the deities, find a temple nearby, suitable temple, sit there and chant. Then you should not feel, depressed. You should not feel that, because human tendency is to, do faults. But the enthusiasm should go on. You should not be disappointed. So Prabhupada has given that engagements where we can always be enthusiastic and not so much think about the past. For devotees there is no past. Sometimes we fall down, but it's like a child. Prabhupada gives example of a child. He's crawling and he's trying to get up. So while trying to get up, there are so many fall downs. But he's still, that enthusiasm is high. Utsaha nistayadhairyat. So that enthusiasm is high. So since he has that enthusiasm, since he has that goal to achieve, so he's making efforts. So devotees always make effort. There are problems, but they all ask the Lord for his forgiveness and continue with the devotional service. Thank you very much. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Nitai Gaur Premanande.